On this episode of From One Player to Another, we have drummer Czeliga, formerly of Breaking Benjamin, Black Label Society, Adrenaline Mob, and currently of Black Star Riders. This is Greg Marra from Go DPS Music Live, and this is From One Player to Another. You played with Adrenaline Mob, you played with Black Label Society, Breaking Benjamin, and you're a drummer's drummer. And to me, that's like, my favorite drummers are guys that, you know, I like punk drummers for sure, but I like guys like you too, because it's really interesting to see your patterns. And if we could start with, Chad, if you don't mind, the way that you have your toms on the kit. So I was watching a video today, it was like 12, 10, 14, 16. But the comment I wanted to make is, your 16 is off to the right where it makes sense. It's not off all the way to your side of your body where you have to twist around. Can you talk about the setup of your kit?
Yeah, thank you for the compliments. So the way I've looked at drumming is very martial arts, or like even like kind of like playing pool. Everything has a triangle. And if you know your shapes, your distances don't have to be so far away from each other. Everything is more tight, and you're using more of your wrist to, like, for instance, if my cymbal was here, I don't have to move my whole arm and hit the cymbal. I just swipe my wrist and flip it, almost like a windshield wiper. So with the toms that you were talking about, I have them kind of going out more instead of in, because when you're playing, you don't want to be turning your torso. You want to stay straight, especially if you're getting eye contact with your band guys, and all you do is move your wrists like a triangle. The tom thing became where I had power toms when I was a kid, and if no one knows what power toms, they're a lot longer, elongated. But what happened was, the 12 was like a 12 by 10. It was a BLX Pearl. And it was so deep that I couldn't lower it as much as I liked where the 10 was. So long story short, I just flipped them over and put a tom on a cymbal stand mount and put the 10 where the 12 would be. And it made me almost like think differently on doing a fill. One, it looked cool. It looked different.
Yeah.
Right. And also it made it kind of make me think of doing fills differently. I always like to do fills backwards, maybe because it's the Polish, but I always liked how it sounded. So when you reverse the toms, you're already going backwards without going backwards.
Yep.
And you're also having a bigger tom and then your floor tom, and that 8-inch or 10-inch, depending on the size you play, it's kind of like a splash. You can kind of get in and get out and use it just for accents. So it really takes you in a creative world differently.
Right. I know a lot of drummers, like for me, when I set up a kit, I like to have the ride cymbal where that second tom resides. But I noticed you have that second tom that we're talking about, the second rack tom. And it's cool because you're not actually tuning that to a lower pitch. It's the pitch it should be when you tune it. Yeah.
Yeah. So instead of hearing it, da 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 do 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 do, you're hearing da 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 da.
Yeah.
So again, you use that for accents. And if that was my main drum, it would be there. That's the first drum I'm hitting. So I'd rather have some thunder and then another attack in between it.
Yeah. Can you talk about your second snare that you have off to the left?
My side snare?
Yeah, your side snare.
Yeah, I raised it not as everyone else used to do, kind of more like a Neil Peart thing where it was up higher and almost using it like a rack tom. But everyone that I've seen keeps it more level as her snare drum, as a side snare. I like to play with the strainers off. When I played in a band called Breaking Ben, I used it in a song called Breath. And I would use it almost kind of like a Danny Carey thing where he actually plays 2 and 4 with the snare wires off.
Yeah.
In like Anima and stuff like that. So I thought it was a cool sound, something different than just, hey, it's a side snare. It's a smaller snare. I'm just going to hit it. You know, there's a reason.
Snare. Yeah. Yeah.
You know?
That's cool, man. So you were at our NAM booth, the Sawtooth Percussion NAM booth, and you had like an interactive jam. And talk about that a little bit, if you don't mind.
I I love playing with all different people, because it makes you think and think differently. How's this person going to play? How am I going to play with this person? It's like having a conversation in a bar where you never met anybody and you're trying to get along with everyone. So the camaraderie is the most important thing. Then to find out, okay, where are they at level wise talent? I always say this in interviews and to my students and to everybody, we're born blessed equally, just differently.
Right.
So it's not a competition. Oh, I'm going to blow this guy away. It's about sharing your talent with another person that's as talented, but going, wow, I never thought of that. So when you play with all the, a plethora of people, an eclectic of styles of music, it challenges you as maybe I'm just going to shut up and listen this time and see what they're playing before I open my mouth with my hands.
Yeah.
And doing that kind of jam, I mean, Sawtooth had a lot of people at that.
Yeah.
And it's cool to see people that can do that kind of stuff and bring us all together, because I feel music heals the soul. So, when you're at NAMM and you're hearing ton of drummers sound like cattle falling down the hill and a bunch of wankers on guitar and rock stars that are walking the floor, the last thing you want to do is bring that to something like that.
Right.
No one had egos. We all just had fun. Some of us knew each other. Some of it was like a reunion, and some of it was like going to a new high school. And it was great.
Was there Vinny Appice was up there one jam, wasn't he?
He was playing.
He was on the kit,
and I was playing a cajon from you guys.
Yeah, very cool, man. So what gear do you have from Sawtooth right now? What do you use?
So Joe hooked me up with 4 different cajons, because they all have its own uniqueness, finishes, sizes, and sound. And myself with ADD, I call it all day drumming. You go from one thing to the extreme. It's like, I want to try this one. I want to try that one. And he just sent me a bunch to try out. And I fell in love with the finishes, the craftsmanship, and the sound is the most important thing. And I was playing the Spirit. I really like the Spirit one. And then there's a whiskey barrel one.
Yeah.
That's just cool to look at.
Yeah, heck yeah.
And I think cajons, when you go to a club or something, or you're doing it on acoustic jam, like an in-store sign that we did with Black Star, I think people are more mesmerized by me playing a cajon than a drum set. Because they're like, how are you hitting this box? And it sounds like a drum set.
Yeah, exactly.
When we did the acoustic performances overseas at the CDs, believe it or not, record stores, they still have over there. And those things cut right through. Never mic'd. Robbie was playing your guys' bass, and he was in love with it, as yourself and everyone at Sawtooth. I think the beauty of saying, yo, this happened, this got wrecked, and he gets upset because he's like, he puts all his blood, sweat, and tears into these products, and it's his name. It's everyone's name. So it's like listening to musicians that do it 24/7, that throw it and beat it and go, maybe this could improve. Maybe this could be a little bit better. With the drum cases, they're amazing. That's a whole nother entity in its own. But, he takes good pride in his stuff. And he always, how did it work out? Do I need to send you out another one? If I have a damaged one, he sends me out another one. No questions asked.
Absolutely.
So it's great to be with you guys.
Well, you mentioned Black Star Riders. I mean, we're going to tie you in with Robbie Crane. I think he's going to be in the studio in a couple of days. Hopefully we can all get together. But if not, can you talk about your involvement in that band? In researching that band, I think they go back good 7-8 years, and they've had multiple players. Right now you have Kristen Martucci, who I just love on guitar. I love that dude. Scott Gorham, legendary guitar player, Thin Lizzy. Oh, why am I forgetting the singer's name? Help me with the singer's name.
Ricky Warwick. You just
Ricky
got to remember
Warwick.
the bass. Yeah.
Yeah, Robbie Crane on bass and yourself on drums. Can you talk about Black Star Riders?
Yeah. Thank you. So Black Star Riders was technically Thin Lizzy at
Yeah.
first. And I met them when I was in Black Label Society, and we were on tour with Judas Priest, and they were opening up. And there was different people in that band at that time. You had
Yeah.
Brian, the old drummer of Thin Lizzy, and you had Marco
Mendoza.
Yeah,
Yep.
amazing bass player. And I think the keyboardist too that was playing with Scott at the time was in that band too, if I remember correctly. But the way, I got the gig, and later on last year, I opened up for Judas Priest, and I was in that band. But they changed it to Black Star Riders, even though it still has a Thin Lizzy classic rock vibe. We tried to bring something different to the table, and Jimmy DeGrasso was the drummer at that time that did the Black Star Riders gig, and Marco was the bass player. And then they left. Sorry, that's my dog.
It's all good. It's what makes this fun.
Can you let the dog out or oh, thank you. Where was I? So when Robbie came into the picture, he was playing with Jimmy. Mm-hmm. And then Jimmy, I guess, I mean, there's two sides of every story, but Jimmy was kind of doing this rat thing for a little bit and kind of conflict with the Black Star Riders schedule. So he just kind of like said, well, I'm kind of tied with this.
Yeah.
So they got me, through tours that we did and auditions. They auditioned a bunch of drummers, cream of the crop drummers too. And finally it was like, all right, what about Chad? And Robbie didn't know me. Damon kind of knew me, and Ricky and Scott from playing with Black Label, but they were like, they don't remember what I did. Mm-hmm. So I did an audition. I was supposed to meet him in LA, but I was doing a session, and I was going home to Cleveland, Ohio, where I'm originally from, to visit my family on Easter. And they're like, well, we want to fly you tomorrow to audition. I said, be honest with you, my family comes first. God, my family, then my career. So I have to see my son.
Yeah.
And they respected that, and they said, just send us a video. I sent a video, and here I am 3 years later.
Yeah. I checked out some of the festivals you guys played. And the thing that was interesting to me was, you have such a, like, sometimes there's a weak link in the chain in any band, and look, I don't want to judge anybody, but that band does not have any weak links, including the songwriting, and you guys have a ton of singles out. So what's the most recent record called? I think it's 2019 you released it. And what are some some things you guys did on touring with that record, and what's next, I guess?
Yeah, thank you. So it's called Another State of Grace. We recorded it in 2019 in February. Mm-hmm. Called Sphere Studios. Gorgeous place. If no one's ever heard of it, go check it out. It's amazing. Francesco's the owner, super cool guy. This was the first time playing with the new guitar player, Christian from Stone
cool.
Sour.
Yeah.
And he wrote a lot of music with Ricky. And then we kind of like passed ideas, like they would send it to me, I would listen to it. And then when we met up in pre-pro, we kind of gutted it and figured out what is going to stay, what's going to add to the song. And Robbie and I were a big part of it too, through the recording process. It was a great experience. We did it with Jay Rustin.
Oh, nice.
Super great producer. He's
excellent. Yeah.
Yeah. And a cool guy, and mm-hmm. I think the camaraderie in this band is what makes it worthwhile. They're a little bit older. They're more seasoned, and it's a super group, I mean, even
Absolutely.
With Damon Johnson being in Alice Cooper and him being, in Brothers Kane being the lead singer, and then kind of stepping down and just being the guitar player and doing harmonies, that shows somebody's character. And then Jimmy DeGrasso, that's played with Suicidal Tendencies and Ozzy, and the list goes on and on for that. And then Marco, being a fusion great that he is, and White Snake. So all of us, even newer guys coming into the band, were in other groups. So there is a professionalism in that band that we look for, and the sound. So I can't just go in and be like, all right, I'm going to make it sound like Breaking Ben or Black Label. Yeah. I had to stay true to what Black Star Riders was doing, but still add a little bit to the soup, you know? And I think with this new record, it did really well in the UK. I think it went #1, actually.
I saw that. That's amazing. Congratulations.
Thank you very much. I think we toured it from October to November, and then the pandemic happened.
Yeah, yep.
So, I'm sure we're all in the same boat, like Slipknot touring, Korn touring.
Yeah.
A lot of bands that just came out with a record, Tool, and that's the sad thing is it's like, this is the first record that really took off for Black Star Riders right out the gate with new guys. It was my first debut record. It was Christian's first debut record, and we toured for 2 months, and it's like,
yeah, right.
What did we do?
Yeah. So what is that answer? I know you teach, and I know you're likely keeping busy, but what do you do in these times?
Well, I've been just doing, believe it or not, I finally got a studio up and running in my house. So like if I have to do percussion stuff with the cajones that Joe gave me, I can do the percussion because now I have a studio. Or if I have to do drum set, I can do drum set. So I have, a bunch of different options to stay busy if it's percussion or if it's drum set, even though it's kind of the same thing. I've been doing people's records. I'm actually doing this band now called the Weapons of Anew.
That's right.
Yeah, and I did the record, and they loved the drumming that they wanted me to be a part of the band. So now I'm doing that. And my band, Walking with Lions, we're still working on songs, and that band's all over the country. Two are from LA. One is my guitar tech for Black Star Riders.
Yeah.
And he's in Minnesota, Casey. And we just been working with a lead singer right now, and myself and PA. And I think we've been together maybe 3 or 4 times ever in a band in like 3 years. And we wrote like 12 songs in one sitting. So it's still a new band, but I'm really love the guys. We have a guy named Kevin, Frank, Casey, myself, and John. And they're great. But it's different than Weapons of Anew or Black Star Riders or anything I've ever done. So it's always keeping your knives sharp.
Right. Keep working. Yeah, you can't stop. You just got to keep going.
And I'm super blessed to be able to play a lot of different styles. I'm known for being a rock drummer, metal drummer.
Yeah.
That's not my forte. My forte is jazz and funk.
Yeah, yeah.
So kind of doing like what John Bonham, he was like a jazz kind of guy, but swung the groove was that one, and that's kind of what I do, like the Stuart Copelands and stuff.
Dude, I love Stuart Copeland. He's like got to be one of my favorite drummers. John Bonham, you mentioned too. So we talked a little bit about your studio setup. If you don't mind geeking out with me, how do you record drums? Do you have like a soundproof room? What mics, what pre's, what interface? Just go nerd talk with us for a minute if you don't mind.
Yeah, I'll try to do the best at nerd talk. I'm still learning the nerd talk.
Yeah.
But I finally got Logic. I'm a Windows kind of guy. And I was a Mac guy for many years. And then I figured out like my drum student was actually a great engineer, producer, and musician overall. And I'm like, he plays me his stuff, and I'm like, why am I giving you drum lessons? Your stuff is pretty good.
Yeah.
And he started to kind of like help the Walking with Lions band and start like producing and recording them in my basement.
Yep.
At the time, I was recording drum ideas on my cell phone.
Yeah.
And it was just, you got to play it in one take. There's no like, oh, let me punch in that part on my phone. Yeah, there's no such thing. So finally, he was like, man, we got to get you Logic and, get your Mac up and running again and just really dive into it into the studio stuff. And I always pushed that away because I'd always go to a studio.
Yeah.
But man, if the good Lord wasn't looking out for me at that moment, because right when I built that studio, the pandemic happened.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so what I have is my Tama drums. I just signed with Peisty Cymbals about in January.
Oh, nice. Congratulations. Excellent.
Thank you. My Vic sticks, my Evans drum heads, Sawtooth.
Yeah.
I have some LP stuff, and then I have like my in-ears by 64 Audio. And, all these different things make your job easier, right?
Right.
You have all the right tools, you can make things work. And so with mics, I'm working on a mic deal right now. I just have just an eclectic of tons of stuff, that I've gathered over the years. And my boy Volley, who gave me some mics to have, like I have an AKG mic in my kick drum.
Mm-hmm.
I'm using Samson mics for my toms.
Yeah. Whatever works, though. I mean, you could put an SM57 on everything and probably make it work.
It's how you tune it,
yeah.
how you tweak everything.
Yeah.
And then, like,
How
my
you play.
interface is just a pre-Sonus. If I can do this stuff, anybody can do it. I know it's the cliche thing to say, but really, I am not like, I can hit power on my laptop and maybe go to a website. That's it.
Yeah. Yeah.
But, Logic is really easy. And once you get it, the great thing about technology is I can actually record and do a session with my boy Volley.
Mm-hmm.
And he can actually observe everything. He can share my screen, or I can share my screen with him. He can go into the guts of Logic, control it, hit record, shift things right out of his house in Long Island. Mm-hmm. And so that's kind of what we've done. I just did a song for Engelbert Humperdinck.
That's what you mentioned yesterday. Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah. I mean, he's an icon. And literally do it out of my basement, and he can control and mix it and master it and do everything.
In real time.
In real time.
That is super cool. Yeah, that's next level for sure.
Yep.
Yeah, man. Well, that's great that you're able to keep working in that. As far as Black Star Riders go, do you guys have any more promotion? Are there any other singles? Is there any like interactive thing that people can maybe look forward to you guys doing an interactive jam or anything?
Yeah, I mean, I've been trying to get the guys to do these quarantine jams, which is so played out, but they're fun. There's no stipulation. You could play a cover and not get in trouble. I think, we're talking about working on a new record in October. That's just hearsay right now. I mean, we just put out a single recently. I think It Ain't the End of the World is one. What else? I can't even remember. I haven't played these songs in over, it feels like a year. I forget the titles.
It's coming up on a year. Yeah.
Yeah. And so I think we're on our third or fourth single. Nowadays, everything's a single because no one buys records, so they stream it, download it, whatever. But trying to put out as many songs as we can on this record. I mean, we're really proud of this record. Everyone played great, and it was a great experience. It's just a shame that this pandemic kind of stopped. But I think if you look at it in the grand scheme of things, everyone's on the same playing field now.
Absolutely. Yeah. And whenever we get back to it, everybody's going to be so amped up to see live music and to perform live music. It's going to be incredible.
Correct. I mean, you could have a Foghat tribute band. It's going to be sold out. You
exactly.
know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Yeah, totally.
I think the world is in dire need for music again, like live music. And I think we've taken that, we've abused that, where it's like, oh, we can just go see live music whenever. Now we can't. Now, instead of watching it on YouTube or this or that, now you're actually going to go out again and actually like it was in 1990 and be in the parking lot and go, I can't wait to see these guys in about an hour and a half.
Exactly. There's that. And then drive-in movie theaters. So now we get back to grassroots on how things started with enjoying entertainment.
You can never go wrong. I mean, you can have the best drum set in the world, but it all starts from here.
Right.
That's
right.
the drum set. I can play your cajones. They're only going to sound as good as I can play them.
Right.
You know?
Absolutely. So where can folks find you if they
They
want to
can-
take a lesson from you?
You know, I teach online through Skype or Facebook Live or just Facebook Messenger or Instagram. And then I also teach at home, and I usually charge like 30 a half hour, 60 an hour.
That's excellent. Yeah, that's such a great rate. Wow. That's amazing.
You know, it's like, why charge 120? I could, but I love to teach. You know, money will come down the line, down the road, but I love to teach and I love to inspire people, especially times like this, you know, where you can't come to the house.
Absolutely.
Skype is another, you know, way of an outlet to do that. Yeah, they can just hit me up on ChadSzeliga@gmail. That's ChadSz as in zebra, E as in elephant, L as in Larry, I get attention @gmail.
That's cool. Dude, I got to tell you, Szeliga, we mentioned over the phone that you grew up in like the Cleveland area, whatever, Ohio area, and I grew up in Pittsburgh. So in my high school graduating class, there was like 10 Szeligas, and they were all, you know, so it's, as people have a hard time pronouncing your name, I'm like, oh, I know exactly how he pronounces his name.
When you said it, I was like, oh my gosh, you're like the only person in my life that ever said it properly.
Yeah, pretty cool, man. Well, Chad, thanks so much, man. This has been a lot of fun, and appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks for having us.
All right, thanks, man. Have a good one.
Major thanks to Chad Szeliga for being a guest on From One Player to Another.
Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to all of our socials on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, and everywhere else on the web. This is Greg Marra with Go DPS Music Live. Thanks for watching. See you on the next episode.